Good morning everybody, Car and Biker here, out exploring. I'm about the midpoint of a 2-week holiday from work and I'm out exploring, and I thought I'd just share something that just, I was going to say it happened to me, but it didn't happen to me as such. It happened and I helped with the clear up, not the happening. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll show you a clip. Might be a long one, but I'll show you what happened and then I'll come back to you. That's a bit of a mess. That's a lot of a mess. So you can see from that clip, that was an awful lot of blockage in the road. And luckily beforehand, oh well, not luckily, it didn't really matter, but beforehand there was an articulated lorry that had flashed me and said slow down. I wasn't actually going that fast, but it wouldn't have mattered anyway. But the lorry was doing his job. I thought, actually, he was telling me to slow down, that there was a policeman ahead, because that's the usual, isn't it? Look out, there's a speed trap coming. But no, it was that mess on the road. And what had happened there was the chap had been driving along, and he's limited to 50 miles an hour with that trailer on, and somebody had got fed up of waiting behind him at 50 and had overtaken him, but then had to squeeze into a gap in front of him and slam his brakes on. And that meant that the guy who was driving that 4x4 with the trailer had to slam his brakes on, which meant the trailer got out of control. All of the pallets concertinaed up and a lot of them broke, and that made the straps go slack, and then of course it all collapsed and fell apart, and the outcome was what you saw. But it makes me think about the golden rule, and it's what I thought is worth mentioning, and that's a good example of why it's worth mentioning. Not because of that particular incident, but because that could have happened on a blind bend. Probably not the overtake bit, but I have seen some quite impressive stupidity in my time, so you know, I wouldn't put it past them. The idea that that could happen on a blind bend, and you turn into a blind bend and you find that level of blockage on the road, if that was a right-hander, the chances, if you're going quick, of being able to stop or avoid, I mean there was very little room to avoid. You'd have had to go right to the inside of such a bend, and there could have been something coming the other way. So the chances of avoiding all that would be pretty slim if you were going too quick. And the chances of getting through that, I mean if you're getting through maybe one piece of wood on the road on a dry day, maybe you'd be alright. If you didn't panic, you could probably stand the bike up a bit and just ride over a piece of wood. You'd probably get away with riding over it at lean, as long as you weren't leaning so far that your suspension couldn't cope with it, and you know, right on the limits of what the tyres could do. But to get through all of those pallets without coming off, I think, well, that'd be challenging for Valentino Rossi. Maybe not Marquez, but you know. So the golden rule, and I've heard it called other things as well, and I've heard it said in two ways. The golden rule says you should always be able to stop in the amount of space that you can see to be clear on your side of the road. So here, fast as you like. Although we're coming up to a brow of a hill, so if you get to a brow where you can't really see over it, who knows what's on the other side of it. There was actually, when I first started seeing Mrs. C and she lived out in Withensea and I lived in Hull at the time, so I had to head out that way quite a lot. It was about, well, not another one. It was about a 20-mile journey, and part of that journey has a load of little crests, just little bumpy. And there was some people killed there. And I don't know if they'd broken down or just stopped in a silly place to stop, but they had a really low sports car, something like an old MG, and they'd stopped between two crests. And a car went over a crest and ploughed into them and killed them. So even on the brow of a hill. So brow of a hill, corner, anywhere that you can't see enough space, the golden rule applies. And so the golden rule is you should be able to stop. At the speed you're going, you should be able to stop in the amount of space you can see to be clear. Otherwise you're going too fast. Now I kind of like to extend that, because of the aforementioned stupidity of some people on the roads. I think it should be double that distance, because somebody could be coming the other way on your side of the road, and then you have to cater not only for your stopping distance, but hopefully for theirs as well. Hopefully they'll see you and stop, or they'll swerve out of the way. They won't just plough into you head on. I mean, they could be texting, you never know. But that's kind of the principle. Now I see it on a lot of videos where people are riding spiritedly, and quite a lot of videos where people aren't, where they're just riding normally but a little bit too quick, and then they come round a bend and they find themselves having to take swift avoiding action for something, and if there's another person involved, shouting and swearing, and if there's not another person there, probably shouting and swearing anyway and saying it was the object's fault for being there. But I think it's one of those where that rule is something that people should certainly stick to on the roads. Maybe not on the circuit, but on the roads, because you just never know what's coming. So I thought it was a good example, and it made me think of that rule, so I thought I'd do a quick video about it, and that was that. So let me know what you think in them there comments. Thank you for watching, everyone. Ride safe, and I shall talk to you all again soon.